everybody, it's Lee. Thought I'd send you a video. I just wanted to check in about the speech of introduction, central idea statements. So I know several of you didn't submit. For those of you that did, gave you some feedback, but I thought I'd give everyone just kind of a quick summary of the assignment. So you're always welcome to meet up with me face to face or online or whatever. I mean, I'm on campus now, so whatever works best for you, we can chat. But the class moves fast. So basically right now you're already talking about writing a draft of the whole speech, and then pretty much right after that you're talking about delivering the whole speech. So we don't have a ton of time to sit around and like contemplate ideas. We got to sort of make drafts, get feedback, revise drafts. Here's the thing I'll say about the speech of self-introduction central idea. It works best if it's one sentence and the sentence has a word. So I am helpful. I am creative. I am driven. I have, it also can be like I have high expectations. I value creativity. You see what I mean? Like they don't have to be I am statements, but you need your word. So if I were to say, what's your word? You would say visionary or nurturer or passionate or righteous or anything like that. And once you find your word, we often go for very common words. So I'm a people pleaser, I'm sensitive, I'm motivated. I tend to get like the same 5 or 6 words. It might be a good idea to go on like synonym.com or some kind of thesaurus and look to see if there are other words related to your word that maybe you're not familiar with, and then look those up. Because oftentimes when you say when you say you're driven, it's like, okay, do you mean you're ambitious? Do you mean you're passionate? Like what do you mean? What do you mean by driven? And so that can be a way to try to get maybe like your even better word. And then once you know your word, that's the theme of the whole speech. So we're going to try to show that word connected to you in our analogies and our stories. So once you say, hey everybody, I'm Lee, I'm a visionary, right? Once you say that's your word, the rest of the speech is just you showing all the different complexities and depths of like what it means to be that. It's not motivating the audience to also be a visionary. It's not talking, it's not just continuing to say, hey, I'm a visionary for, it's like showing them, hey, here's a time where that quality of me sort of kind of popped up in this example, or here's an analogy. I'm a lot like, you could pick another human who's a visionary, right? I mean, I wouldn't go like, I don't want to be like, I'm like Martin Luther King, because that would be ridiculous. But I might say I'm like Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, and then I would explain why, right? But the other thing you want to think about is what I call the upside downside. So a lot of times these speeches either wind up being, hey everybody, I'm Lee, I'm sensitive, I'm gonna shit on myself now for 3 minutes about how I take everything too personally. It's like too much negativity. And I don't mean in the sense of like, oh, you should be positive. I just mean we don't know each other. I'm trying to teach you a skill set, and dumping a bunch of intense confession style stuff onto a bunch of strangers on the internet is like not a good skill set to develop. So on the flip side though, I don't want a motivational speech about how you're like, my name's Lee and I've overcome all the obstacles. I'm so driven. Let me tell you about how I kicked math, or let me tell you about everything I've ever done, and my motto of like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Because then it's like, it feels fake because you're almost like not focusing on telling me who you are. You're trying to get me to believe that like you've got everything all figured out. So if you can strike a balance with kind of a pro con. It's like, okay, well, I'm a visionary, right? So that's my word. The downside is I often like am trying to pressure people to level up, right? Oh, you did that? Cool. It could be even better if you did this. Oh, you got that pretty well? Okay, cool. Let's do that, right? Oh, I just finished making dinner and we haven't even eaten it yet. Let's talk about all the other things I could do to make this dinner better. That's the downside. The upside is I'm also always thinking about how could things improve, right? And I'm a high risk taker in the sense that I'd rather go for the risk than settle for what's in front of me. So again, it's the same thing, right? Strength and weakness. So I don't have to crap all over it and talk about how crappy it is and how I never accept anything and I'm never grateful and all that jazz, even though that is part of it, but I don't have to like just focus on that. Likewise, I don't have to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I motivate everyone around me, I'm inspiring, I have it all figured out, because that's also not true. So having a word helps you focus, and then thinking about the strengths and weaknesses, or just one strength and one weakness, can help make sure that throughout the speech you have a nice balance of, yeah, this doesn't always work for me, and sometimes it does. And that will help sort of strike a nice middle ground where you're being open and vulnerable to the audience, right? They definitely feel like you're telling them the truth, and you're willing to share some things with them. That makes you feel very like vulnerable, and that can make them kind of appreciate you. But you're also not only doing that, so there's also some upsides and benefits so that they don't get like too overly emotionally like overwhelmed. And again, like people are going to be different, so nobody's going to hit it right in the middle. Some of you are going to lean a little on the negative side. Like I would say I lean on the negative side. So if I were going to sit here and even choosing the word visionary is hard for me, because what I want to be like is I'm a, what do people call me? They call me like a nag. Like I'm bossy, right? Like that would be the way I'd be, and I would just be negative about that for 4 minutes. But it's not true because it has a lot of upside. So even choosing the word visionary is kind of hard for me because my instinct would be to go negative. So most of us are going to lean one direction or the other. You might lean more positive, and so you might be a little bit more like trying to show off your good qualities. That's fine. Just bring in some of the downside so that it feels real. And then likewise if you lean negative. All right. And I also just want to remind everybody that you do not need to be Toni Morrison writing these speeches. They're going to go onto note cards, and you're going to talk very much like I'm talking to you now. I would like you to stand up, so if you have a camera, I would probably like, no, that's not going to work, but I would like something probably more like this, right? Because typically in public speaking, you wouldn't be sitting down. Also, when you stand up and you have your hands and everything, normally you just naturally tend to be more effusive. Now, some of you, I am a very dramatic talker, so some of you won't look like that. You'll look kind of like this, but you might use your hands a little bit. You might move to the side a touch, right? You might kind of shift your weight, and those are all just very natural things that make you a little bit more personable. You can have physical note cards in your hand that you can shuffle through, but I often just use my phone. I maybe make PowerPoint slides or do something, but if you're going to use your phone, I don't know why, but instead of doing it like this, just turn it. I'm not sure why that is, but people don't seem to like rate people as low if their phone is turned. And also it's like you can't really see it. So it's sort of nice because I think this kind of, we're used to this meaning like I'm not paying attention to you. So when you put your phone up in your face, it can be distancing. But if you turn it, it just doesn't trigger the same kind of distancing, right? So then you have your notes, and you're like, hey, everybody, I'm Lee. I am a visionary. The upside of that is da-da-da-da, yakety-schmackety, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll look at your notes, and you'll scroll, and you'll do the next part of your, and I want you to notice that I'm not holding, I'm kind of just glancing at it, and then I'm talking, and I'm glancing at it, and then I'm talking. That's what we want for the speech. We want a lot of eye contact, very conversational. You're going to want to rehearse this several times. But then you just keep a couple notes with you so that you remember, oh, my analogy is to Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. Oh, my narrative is about when I got hired as a professor at Geneseo. Oh, my central idea is about visionary. It's a balance between having expectations that are too high and also motivating people to do better, right? So you just have like 5 or 6 notes. So as you're writing out your outline, you do want to write in full sentences. You want to make sure you get all of your ideas down. You want to make sure you're at about 3 minutes. That's about 450 words-ish, maybe 500. So I wouldn't definitely write anything longer than that. But don't get like stressed about the language, because ultimately all of the words you're putting down on the paper are just to try to get your ideas in order. You're going to want to, once that draft is done and I've given you some feedback, you're going to want to transition pretty quickly into note cards and then rehearse from those. Again, because if you read off a script, you won't have the same level of eye contact and conversationality and dynamism. We will do a script reading for the last speech. So there are 3 speeches. The last one is a script reading. The other 2 are meant to be what we call extemporaneous. High eye contact, lots of dynamism, conversational. Because that's really the mode that you're going to need most of the time. So we definitely want to start practicing it with this first speech of 3 minutes. All right, so that is my spiel about the self-introduction. I'll probably do one more of these before we actually get to recording day. In the meantime, I'll just be continuing to give feedback on Canvas. Please let me know if you want to meet one-on-one. All right, cool. Talk to you soon. Bye.